Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen of all genders, welcome to a brand new live stream. We got a very special guest with us today. It's been a minute since I've streamed, so I'm happy to finally get the chance to stream. So folks, I was recently on our guest channel, had a great conversation, and so now I'm very happy and privileged to get the chance to kind of pick at his brain. I'm sorry, I mean I don't want to assume any kind of gender. I don't want to assume any pronouns, so forgive me. But he is in fact a best-selling author. His name is Ben DuBard. He's a brand new best-selling book. I read through it recently. It was great. The book's called Why Women Deserve Less. So, Ben, thanks for coming on the show, man. Great book. It was a great read. How
Yeah,
you doing?
thanks for shouting out my book, man. I appreciate it. Um, yeah, I'm doing good. I've got a new book coming out soon. It's
Oh yeah.
called Cock, Balls, Dick, Pussy,
Wow,
and
that's
that's a
so
new
brave.
book that I'm
Yeah.
really working hard on.
Yeah, I can like read in between the lines that like you're really delving into like the current social like economic climate, right? And really addressing a lot of the kind of big issues of the day. So,
Well, it's symbolism at the end of the day. You know,
yeah,
the unintelligent person might look at that title and get turned off, but intelligent person who appreciates art is going to see that and they're going to dig in deeper and they're going to get the true meaning of everything. So,
right. That's so brave. That's so brave. Yeah.
yep.
So appreciate your bravery, man. But no, man. Look, how you doing? I know the market's kind of down a little bit. So how have you been kind of reacting to this downtrend? Are you panic selling? I know I've just kind of been in an utter panic, just screaming, just running around, crying in the corners, that kind of thing. How have you been reacting?
Uh, Man, I've just been chilling. I just had family in town, so haven't really been. It was a nice kind of separation from crypto, and so I mean, I
That's way
figure
too
we're gonna.
healthy for my taste.
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna be doing this kind of down sideways thing for a while.
Yeah.
At least from what I understand, if we follow the 4-year cycles, once we get to about like October, we'll be 6 months away from the happening, and that's when things start to potentially pick up. So, and I don't know all this. I saw today the SEC is going after Coinbase as well as Binance, which is kind of funny. I thought Coinbase kind of did stuff correct, but I guess it doesn't really matter if they want to throw mud at
Well,
you. They
it,
just do it anyway.
I think it's actually even more funny than that because I think it was originally Coinbase who sued the SEC, and the SEC I guess didn't want to be one upped, and so I guess decided to kind of return the favor, and so what now? The SEC is kind of battling Binance, they're battling Coinbase, XRP. I mean, hell, there's even kind of a the open question as to what degree they're looking to kind of the RH ecosystem. So in my opinion, I don't know how you feel about this, but um, while I think there might be kind of some choppy waters, uh, ultimately, I'm hoping that the end result of all this is a bit of regulatory clarity, especially once we start to see some kind of tangible results with what's going on with XRP. So
Hmm.
that's kind of what I'm hoping we see. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the quote pulled up right in front of me. If not, I would. But I believe it was Gary Gensler who's recently quoted. I think it was Bitboy might have retweeted it. Let's see if I can find it. But it was Gary Gensler who, and again, if I can't find the exact tweet, there's always a chance that this was kind of made up. But uh, we'll take it at Bitboy's word here that Gary Gensler recently said something to the extent of, uh, we're trying to like we don't need all these cryptocurrencies. We already have a digital currency, and that's kind of the Fed dollar, right? And so
Yeah.
it seems that kind of the implication is that they're going after crypto because they don't want kind of the market, the market's product. They want to make their own version of a digital currency, and that's what they want to protect. What do you think about that kind of take?
I think it's all just like FUD, you could say. Like I think they're just trying to scare people out, which makes sense. Like I think they know this is inevitable, and like all this stuff is just like to get as many people to sell out as they can. Um, that's just what I think. Like I don't really pay much attention to it. um, so I think it's all going to be fine. I don't think they can really do much about it, and I think I think they know it's probably stupid of them. Like they see the innovation is going overseas. You know, you have really super crypto friendly places like Singapore, I've heard, and places in Europe. I mean, I think it's literally just like let's scare as many people out as we can and convince as many people that this is like BS, so we can get in before, so we can our banking buddies or whatever, we can try and get our claws in it as deep as we can to control it as best as we can before we start kind of telling people, oh, you know, actually this stuff's okay. And they might just happen to start telling people that right at the top of the next bull run. And so they can wreck. So then all these people can come in and lose all their money. And then they can say, oh, well, you have, you know, the CBDC Fed coin here now. So, you know, we got you. Because ultimately, you know, the way the world's been going, I think, has been the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. And I don't think that's by accident. So I think there's something to be said that this is just going to be a continuation of that kind of like trend. And then,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's incredibly funny, man? From my perspective, you know, there seems to be a kind of narrative and understanding that a lot of people, a lot of crypto people, tend to be more libertarian bent, more conservatively bent, and that's obviously true. But it's funny from my political background. It seems to me like the left and cryptocurrency should actually be close friends, which they're not, because in my opinion one of the great uh, one of the great aspects of being in crypto is the ability to financially empower yourself, not just through price appreciation, but through the custody of your own assets. And like that's a message that I think can speak to everyone, not just person on one side of the aisle or not. So I personally think it's kind of tragic that there has been, I think, some division along political lines in regards to who's in favor and who's not in favor of cryptocurrency. I don't know to what extent you felt that, but like I know for myself back in the day, I used to keep up with different political shows, and I found it so unfortunate that I think the certain elements of the left in kind of North America are becoming more and more anti-crypto, which I think is deeply tragic because it doesn't have to be. I think it's a financial tool of empowerment, which again is applicable to anyone. I don't know if what your take is on that.
yeah, it is funny. There's a lot of contradiction among beliefs of, I guess, both sides of the political spectrum, but I guess on the left, I see it more. Um, I don't really get it, you know. But I think that's one where you're all about being progressive, but you hate this new technology. You want people, I don't know, like you want rights and freedom for people, or yeah, like everyone should be able to do what they want. But like, I just think a lot of it's just like brainwashing. Like it's just like a psyop. A lot of people aren't like capable of like free thought these days in a way, you know. So like if they're told something that doesn't make any sense, but like everyone's agreeing with it, they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then they could like 5 minutes later, they could agree with something that totally contradicts that thing they just agreed with 5 minutes ago, but they don't even care because they're just like, well, everyone's good, everyone's happy with this, so we're going with it. It's like, what the hell? It's like yeah, I don't know. It's so weird. Of course, it's going to be made political because that's just how I say they. I don't know what that means, but maybe the media, I guess. Like
Yeah.
people are so divided into left or right. Like, oh, it's black or white. You know, like it's this or that. It's one or the other, which is like so nonsensical because like that's just not how life works. Like what the hell?
Yeah, yeah, and I don't mean to like drag you into like a political conversation either, but I think even like on a human psychology front, it's interesting, right? Because it kind of speaks to human psychology, which is relevant within this market, and to kind of bring things back to kind of a crypto aspect. Like you see it too in crypto, where if you really examine the majority of people's beliefs with what they're invested in, there's obviously the hardcore believers who are really kind of super into the fundamentals and understand the fundamentals very deeply, and they align their philosophy with whatever cryptocurrency most aligns with kind of their presuppositions. But what I'm trying to get at is that I see a lot of people, you know, in this space, they don't necessarily believe what they believe or invest in what they invest in because of like a well rationed, like rationalized, thesis. It's more so just it's either narrative hopping or emotionally driven, right? Which I think is part of the reason why we see a lot of people get themselves kind of wrecked. Like one of the things I've been kind of harping on as of recent is I find that due to the fact that we exist in such a volatile market, we have to come up with a way to kind of mitigate the risk of the volatility and mitigate the risk of acting on our own emotions. And one of the things I've kind of attempted to better articulate in order to kind of mitigate all this is the fact that one really needs to work towards developing an investment thesis, a philosophy of investing. Like you can't just, half-ass walk your way into this market where there's extreme volatility for years on end and expect to just be this emotional stoic who never makes a bad choice, right? So I think that's tremendously important. So I wanted to ask you, how has your crypto development journey progressed? Like how did you first kind of get interested in this space, and how has your kind of educational journey evolved over time?
Um, well, my first interaction with crypto was high school. I think
Oh
I,
yeah,
I told you this, where me and my friends used crypto to buy stuff online.
what stuff? I'm not a fan. Just kidding.
Oh no, nothing. Just some stuff online, and
Right.
so that's all. I didn't really. All I knew is my friend had to like freaking jump through all these hoops to get this Bitcoin, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. We can buy this stuff online. Wild. And then
Yeah.
in college in 2018. So after the bull run, I'm looking at all these charts that have gone up, like, and I'm looking at where they start and where they're up. I'm like, wow, you could have turned like a little money into a lot. And I bought, and it just went to nothing. I was like, well, this sucks. And then I had a computer science friend who was like, Bitcoin miners sell their Bitcoin. So, like, mathematically, Bitcoin can never go past 20K again because the miners are just going to sell it. And I was like, oh, wow, computer science friend, math friend, like he told me that, like, man, like, well, that sucks. And then it was like July of 2020. Somehow I got recommended a crypto video, and I had been investing with my free government helicopter money for
Oh, okay.
pandemic.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, you know, balling. I was putting money in the stock market. I was like, I'm a beast, because
Oh, yeah.
everything's going up. So I was like, yeah, I just put money in this stock. I'm so good at this. And then like I'd read an article that said a stock was good and it would be like going up, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm such a G. And then of course I got into XRP, and I remember, and here's my line of thinking. Okay, Bitcoin's like 8,000. It was like 8,000 at the time. Ethereum's 400. It was like 300, 400 or something. And I was like, XRP is 10 cents. I was like, so so the upside obviously is so much higher. I was like, this is like obviously the play. Uh, and then or it was 15 cents. It was something like that.
Yeah.
And then I put like $200 in, and then it went up 50% in a day, and I made $100, and I was like, holy shit, I made $100 in a day, and it didn't crash. Like, it stayed, it went up 50% and stayed there, and just kept, because this was like the start of the bull, and then Bitcoin went to like the 10K, and stuff. And I was like, holy crap, I thought this stuff would go up and then straight back down, but it's staying there. And then You know, the altcoin dailies are like, guys, the Bitcoin halvening is coming. Like,
Yeah.
this, and I didn't know what any of this shit meant. They're like, the halvening. Oh, the inflation rate of Bitcoin gets cut in half. I'm like, what does that mean? What inflation? That's like a word that I hear. Like, you know, I don't know what that means. I was like, okay. And then so how I found Hex was through Trevon James.
Oh, really? Okay,
I'm
interesting.
watching all these crypto YouTube guys, and they're all saying the same stuff, you know, and they're like, oh, looks like CNBC is bullish on Bitcoin. Oh, you know, like all this crap. Then I find Trevon James, and he's like, all right, guys, so what you're going to want to do is get in this farm and take your YAM token and swap it for salmon. Man, this salmon farm was paying out 4,000%. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Like, what is this guy doing? Like, whoa. And so I start like diving into that world. And he's like Tron, you know, he was like big on Tron at the time. Like he was like, Tron's better than ETH. Tron's gonna eat ETH's lunch because the fees are so much cheaper. And like so I started, that was my first like DeFi. I had Tron wallet. I was like doing all this shit on Tron wallet. I was in his paid Telegram, and like, dude, I had no idea what I was doing. Literally, people would. I felt like I just joined. I'd walked into a room of all these people running around, like screaming about how much money they just made or they lost in this Telegram. They're like, "Yo, this new farm just dropped. I just made 20K in 10 minutes." Like all this shit. I'm like, whoa, like what? And they're like, this is the farm. This is the farm. So I'm like typing on my computer. I'm like, okay, like I don't even know what I'm doing, dude. There's like Sriracha coin. Like I was like, I don't understand any of it. I was like, what is this stuff? Like Sriracha coin and carrot. You get your carrot and you put it in you can earn more Sriracha with your carrot. Like it was like
oh man,
it was crazy.
Yeah, you're bringing back so many memories of all the yams, all the food tokens. That was like a wave for a minute.
Yeah. So he I don't remember what I was going to say. Oh yeah, so he would talk about HEX, you know, and and at this point he was like, he would talk about, he'd be like, HEX. He was like, it only goes up, and then he would kind of say like, I guess facetiously is the word. He'd be like, don't buy HEX, This token has gone up too hard, too fast. Do not buy, you know. Like he was like, this can't keep going, you know. So I was like, oh, huh, okay. Sorry, something in the chat distracted me. So I was like, okay, this is weird. And then I was like, you know, he's always talking about HEX. Like, let me get HEX. And so then I look at MetaMask. He's like, you got to get MetaMask. I'm like, what the heck? What is this? First of all, it's a weird name, and the logo like freaked me out. And I was like, why isn't this? Is this legit? Like, where's Ethereum wallet? Because Tron wallet was Tron wallet, and it made perfect sense. I'm like, why is this called? What the hell is this? Like, I feel uncomfortable. You know, fuck this. And then, you know, went back to Tron, and I was like, yeah, and I heard fees here suck. But then on the run up to big payday, I finally got on my MetaMask and stuff and got some HEX. And I was like, dude, the fees over here aren't bad at all. Like I was like, the fees are like 30 cents over here on Ethereum, or maybe they weren't that low at that time, but they were like so low that I was like, these fees aren't bad. Like, what's everyone talking about? Ethereum fees are bad. Like, so I started using Ethereum more. And I found Richard Hart through Trevon. He was like, oh, I'm going on the founder of Hex's YouTube channel. You know, and I tuned into that. And I was like, who the hell is this? This guy seems like so weird. This Richard Hart guy. And all these people were in the chat, like, seemed very, very into him. But I was like, I've never heard of this guy from like anyone. Like, and then he started talking to Trevon about BitConnect. And I was like, what? Trevon was involved in like some giant, massive like crypto scam. I was like, what the hell? And I started like questioning everything. I'm like, who is this guy I've been listening to that I thought was like genuine and cool? Like, I'm like, what the hell? And I started looking up that stuff. And then, yeah, so then, you know, I got some HEX, I staked it. And the thing that got me to stake was because I was like, the website was it's still freaking weird. It looks weird. The HEX staking interface is weird as shit. It's like, you got all these random numbers. You don't know what's what. Like, I didn't know what I was supposed to get. Like, it was like, here's a 10 trillion hearts, and here's a T-share. I'm like,
what's a T-share? Yeah,
I'm like, just tell me what I get in and what I get out.
Yeah.
And they do, but then there's all these numbers in between. I'm like, what is this supposed to mean? And at the time, you had the big payday bonus too. So I'm like, what the hell is that? I was like, is this included in what I receive? Like, that doesn't seem real, because it was like, oh, you're getting double. Like, before the OA went in, it was like triple, depending. It would say you're getting triple what I was like, what the heck? This just doesn't make any sense. But then Richard Hart was like, on one of his streams, he was like, well, just stake for a month. He was like, stake for a month and just see. And I was like, well, that's reasonable. So I was like, let me just stake for a month. And I remember it was like the stake was ended like 3 days after big payday. And I remember everyone was like talking about ending their stakes and staking it long. And I didn't understand what they were talking about. I was like, I thought you weren't supposed to end stake. I was like, I don't want to end stake early. I don't know what I'm doing. So I left that stake, which in hindsight, I'm like, man, I should have. But after I staked for like 2 days, the stake was in for 2 days. I set up a whole staking ladder. And I was like, awesome. But I didn't understand. And I was seeing these hexagons, talking about the ETH fees were going to be bad. And I was like, well, I was like, what are they talking about? Like, these fees aren't expensive. Psh. And so I had like monthly stakes. Now I'm like, fuck. And I didn't put in a lot into Hex because I was like, this coin, because I was using my new brain. I was like, this coin just went up, all these X's, maybe in the long term it'll do good. So I don't really need to invest much because this is a long-term thing. You stake long, that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, it really like wasn't a ton of money, but I was doing these like tiny stakes or 15-year ladder.
Yeah.
And then I was all these hexing people were like, this is the last time we're going over a penny. And then we crashed under a penny. And then we went up over a penny. And they were like, this is the last time we're staying up over a penny. And then it crashed under a penny again. And I was like, screw these guys. They're just like everyone else, like saying all this bullshit. So I unfollowed a bunch of them. And I was like, I just went back into the like normie space. And then, I was in on Polygon at the time too.
Oh, you got the Polygon right on, yeah.
Yeah, my biggest bag was this gaming coin on Tron that then moved to Polygon, and so this gaming coin had a huge announcement on Tron and I found it through Trevon as well. And they were like, guys, we have a huge announcement. And I remember everyone was like, oh my God, we're partnering with Sony. We're partnering with the PlayStation. We're like, this is going to be a huge announcement. And they were like, all right, guys, we're migrating from Tron to Matic. And I was like, what the hell is Matic? And everyone was pissed. They were like, they were like, you're moving from the premier chain of Tron to this like a layer 2 bullshit. Like, what the hell are you thinking? And so like a ton of the community just left the coin, like, because they were Tron guys. But then a lot of us were like, well, we trust the founders. They seem really smart. Like, let's just go with them. So I was just in Matic Polygon because of them, but I was buying so much of this gaming token. So I was heavy.
Did it do well? Or?
I think it might have underperformed Bitcoin. Honestly, I think it actually underperformed Bitcoin. Like, it was pretty sad.
Yeah.
Because I was like following the logic of like, well, Matic's going to do a 10x, so all the other coins on Matic are going to do 100x. And if I just held Matic, I remember like Matic was a couple cents and doing like, they had like a pre-sale thing, putting hundreds of thousands of Matic into this fucking pre-sale for this coin. And then, and then the coin like just dipping and stuff. So then I was like yield farming on Polygon and stuff, and I was getting wrecked like everywhere because I was like, I did this on Tron, I know what I'm doing. And then I was like, yeah. And then I was just like being I wasn't even, you have to pay a fee to go into these like degen yield farms. I wasn't even making fee back. I was like, when I first started doing it, I was like, the fee's so tiny, it definitely doesn't matter. And then I was going in on these yield farms, and it was just showing me the number on a screen going up, and I was like, I'm rich, and I was harvesting. And I was like, maybe I should like calculate the fee. And I calculated the fee and I was like, holy shit, like I'm not even making back the fee. I've just been losing money this whole time sitting there.
Yeah.
Like I literally felt like a crackhead. I'd sit there with my ledger like confirm, harvest. And I'd be with my
Yeah.
friends. I just made $500 in 10 minutes. Like I was like doing math on my calculator. I'm like, this is Jeffrey Bezos fucking money, you know? It's like so stupid.
Man, and the bridges were sketchy back early on too. I don't know if you remember that, but I remember trying to bridge over to Matic Polygon. I was like, this bridge is like sketchy. This shit's
Dude,
like there's like no liquidity. It's just getting stuck. I'm like, man,
I
this is
had
sketchy
I
as
had my
fuck.
shit. Yeah, I had a like more than once where I would have to go to this Gaming Coins Telegram because they had a bridge on their own website. My
Yeah,
shit was stuck in the bridge for like
yeah,
2 weeks, and they were like, "Send us a screenshot of this and this and this." They're like, "Okay, we'll get it to the Matic team," like all this stuff. And
so sketchy.
what's funny is a friend of mine, he bought. I got him into Matic to get this gaming coin, but his Matic got stuck in the bridge, and he kept trying to get help, but like no one would really help him. So his Matic was literally stuck in the bridge for like the whole bull run, and he ended up turning like $400 into like 14K because his Matic got stuck in the bridge, and
Oh, but
he couldn't buy the shitty coin. So
did he end up getting it though?
oh yeah, he got it.
Oh, good for him. Yeah,
And
okay.
he sold some, and then he accidentally sent some to Coinbase, which didn't support the layer 2 at the time. But then it got released from Coinbase, and I think it was worth even more because Matic had gone up even more.
Yeah.
Bro, he's also my friend I mentioned before, who got hacked recently because he didn't get a hardware wallet. So he
Oh,
had sold.
I didn't hear about that. Do you want to delve into that?
Yeah, it was just a friend of that friend. He just got on his computer and his money was gone, and it's gone from his MetaMask.
Did he connect to
So
like a sketchy DApp, or like do you guys have any intuitions as to what could have
I
happened?
mean,
Or
I know that MetaMask stores your seed phrase digitally. So if the hacker,
mm,
if someone had his MetaMask, from what I hear from like Papa Boner and stuff,
mm.
is good enough hackers, they can just sweep through a bunch of these MetaMasks that are unprotected if the passwords aren't strong. Get in, get your seed phrase, get it. So I assume it was something like that. He could have. Who knows? He might
Did
click
he have a
some.
weak password? Did or,
I don't know.
okay.
That's just what I assume happened, and so, but yeah, so get a hardware wallet, everyone, for real,
Yeah.
like a Trezor with a passphrase, boom. And I have videos on my channel about how to do that, so check that out. But anyway, I was getting wrecked everywhere in the normal space, listening to everyone. I remember Lark Davis. He would promote. Every week he'd promote a new coin. He promoted a new fucking coin every week, and I was like, oh, what? I was bullish on this other coin. You're already talking about a new one? Shit. I was like, so one day I was like, I'm going to get into this coin. It was called like Bonded Finance or some shit like that. And it was the same founder of QuickSwap, I think. So everyone was like, Bonded Finance, this is going to be so sick. He's the same founder. He's a wizard, I think it did like a 7. It's so funny. Like, I'm saying this now and I'm like, man, that's a lot. But back then I was like, this is bullshit. Like it did like a 7x. And I was
Yeah.
like, what? I was like, fuck, and I didn't sell. So there's a lot of coins like that where I was like, this is doing 100x at least, do a 7 to 10. And then I was the guy who held and then ended up selling the same amount or less that I went in with.
Man, there's some that even went like I know there was a couple that I was like super optimistic on that didn't even doing X's. They ended up just crashing down. Like at no point did they even recover from the during the bull market, which is impressive. But man, yeah, you're hitting on so many points that just bring up so much shit from back in the day, man. I too got onboarded through XRP. Like we talk shit about XRP, but it's like the greatest onboarding tool. Like everyone I know, like got onboarded by XRP.
I know it's crazy. Furu Finance as well as the XRP, bro.
XRP, yeah.
Did you ever see those XRP videos that were like crazy? Like they're literally like
XRP, $15 XRP, yeah.
no, like there's this guy, and he'd be like literally. I remember sending a screenshot to friends where the thumbnail was a blimp in outer space that had Amazon and XRP written on the blimp, and they were like they were like, guys, we just saw a tweet from Donald Trump. Look at Donald Trump. Look what he does with his hands when he's doing this speech. Okay, now look at the fingers. We divide that by the price of XRP. You know, we get the date of August 18th. Guys, that's 5 days away. And Mr. Poole, some kind of Mr. Poole or some shit. Mr. Poole tweeted these photos, cryptic messaging. I was like, what the fuck? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, dude, yes, man. I feel like a lot of these people have been filtered out, but I remember when I was getting in back in like 2020, it was a goddamn minefield out there with influencers just peddling garbage. And man, this is one of the things that made me go like all in on the Richard Art thing, was a lot of these very same people who just peddled garbage, loser after rug pull, after scam, after bullshit, who all also talk shit about Richard Art. And like it wasn't until like 2020, like 2-ish, like after the double peak, where I was like, motherfucker, all you fucking pieces of shit called like Richard Hart a scammer. And I have a personal gripe about this, man, because I heard about HEX like very fucking early on, but I did not look into it. And again, ultimately, this is my fault. I'm an adult, blah, 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 blah. But dude, like I remember I really trusted these guys who were interviewing Richard Hart, and this was very fucking early on, like first quarter two that HEX was out. So and they were like wildly dismissive towards Richard Hart. It was the token magic guys. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they were saying like, oh, I would treat this as a trade, not as an investment. Like hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Like this is some degen shit, guys. And so I didn't look into it further, and I invested in a bunch of shit that they fucking not financial advice recommended. And then, you know, fucking half of it went to shit. One did good, which fucking kept me in the game, but like thankfully it was I found out about Matic Polygon through them. I got 100x out of that, but I missed out on the fucking on the 1000x, you know, because these fucking assholes. And man, yeah, like that's another thing too, was the influencer space is disgusting, man. And there's so many people who spread like incredibly high risk shit, so high risk. Did you fall into many traps with like you know, people? I mean, you mentioned kind of the DGen yield farming and stuff, but any rug pulls, anything like that?
I got rug pulled in a yield farm where I was trusting this Matic influencer, and he had a Telegram, and I was like, wow, I'm in the insider group, you know, and it was free, but like, do you know the influencer Miss Natoshi? She was in that Telegram group. She had like 30,000 followers. I was like, wow, that's a big deal. And she was like, guys, Polycat. She was like, this is the yield farm, Polycat, you know, get in on this. And he was like, no, there's a new one, and I'm in contact with the team, and they're like really good, and I think it's legit, and it's newer, guys, so like the upside's greater. And so I'd been doing the yield farming for a while, and I was like, okay, this is going to be, you know, awesome. To make back the fee, I think I'm going to go in heavy, and I didn't really fully understand it, permanent loss. So I went in heavy on the Matic and native yield farm token.
Oh no.
Yeah.
those things are highly inflationary. Yeah.
Dude, I didn't understand, like, I didn't understand the impermanent loss at all. Like, I was like, oh, I'm going to make all this yield because it's a million. Like, at the start, it's like fucking millions of percent shit. Yeah. And then it was like this slow, I say slow rug. I was so naive. Like, I was like, no, this guy said like he knew the team and it was fine. And people in the Telegram are all like, they're like, this is a fucking rug. Get your fucking money out now. Like the website won't even fucking load. And then like there'd be an admin who'd come in and be like, no guys, everything's fine. Devs are working hard. And then these guys are like, this is a textbook fucking rug pull. You like get your fucking money. I'm like, who are these guys fudding? You know, what the heck? Meanwhile, the website's like not working. All this shit. So I pretty much, dude, I can't remember exactly, but I mean, I probably put like, I think I put like $4 to $8 grand worth of Matic into that, and I just like lost it all.
That breaks my heart.
yeah. And you know, it's bull run. You're feeling like rich as shit all over the place. So I was like, yeah, whatever.
Because Matic was a winner, you know, like it did good.
And then it went on to do like 10x from there. so so yeah,
Yeah.
that was the worst one because I had been doing this yield farming for a little bit, and I was like thought I was confident and I trusted this guy. And then the guy came back into the Telegram chat. He was gone for a day, and everyone was
Mm.
like, "Yo, dude, like, what the heck?" And he came back in and just like made a joke about it, and then never talked about it. And I was like, "Yo, these guys are actually fucking. This is crazy." Like, I couldn't believe it because he'd been like, so like, guys, I want us all to win, like all this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And then and I was like, "What the hell?" Like, he didn't even. And now I real. It took me months to realize, oh, he was in on it because I was like, "Why isn't he saying sorry? Like, why isn't he?" And he was like, "Guys, look, I got hurt by this too. You know, it happens." Like, I was like, "Why aren't you apologizing for shilling this shit and telling us it was all good?" So,
Oh,
but here's the
dude. Yeah, go ahead, finish your thought. Yeah.
well, here's the funny thing. You know, we talk about influencers and the mistrust. Well, that's what made me mistrust with Hex community because I was like, oh, these guys are just like the everyone else because they were like, Hex isn't going under a penny again, and then it did, and then it did like 3 times again. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, these guys don't know shit either. But there is a time when I could have. I remember I think it was Richard Hart's stream with this German guy who's like a fitness guy. It was a really good stream, and it was before Big Payday. And I was thinking of putting in enough. I could have had like millions of hex. Looking at what I could have bought and staked in the Big Payday bonus, and I was looking at it, and I was like, should I do it? Should I pull the trigger? And I almost did it, and then I didn't. So, but
Hey, you know
but
what, man? I think the great thing about this ecosystem is that I think while we might not, there's an open question. We'll see the performance of Hex to get in early at something like PulseChain, PulseX. It's there's still tremendous opportunity. On man, and there's so much you mentioned on the influencer front. I don't want to hover on that too long, but I think you're right. Like, at least for myself, even within our community, man, there were like a couple narratives that were bullshit. Like, I remember one narrative was like the number will go up because of the math. Motherfucker. No, it does not go up because of the fucking math. I'm pretty sure it's actually illegal to say that too. And then there was we're decorrelated. This is a fucking big one for me where I was like, oh, we're decorrelated. No, motherfucker, we're not decorrelated. We might be slightly decorrelated in the micro sense during a bull market, but on the macro, you can't just have fucking
yeah,
Bitcoin crashing from 70K to fucking 15 and have that sentiment and not affect any cryptocurrency. Just like, so there was a lot of that bullshit, and thankfully I think we're seeing less and less than that. But man, yeah, the influencer front was such a fucking minefield. A lot of undisclosed like partnerships, paid partnerships too. I
oh
remember
yeah,
there was a couple people that like I respected, looked up to, that I found out later was like, oh, this guy has a fucking deal with these guys, and he's not fucking disclosing. Like, it's disgusting. Um,
yeah. So it was the Richard Hart called the top on the day,
yeah,
and I didn't believe him because I was listening to all the mainstream guys. I was like, oh, fuck him,
yeah,
fuck this.
dude.
What
Remember,
the
everyone
heck's
was
gonna
saying like 20, 30K. You remember, like,
Yeah, well, everyone
yeah,
thought it was gonna go to like 100K and stuff, And I was like, well, it's at least gonna hit 100K because BitBoy's saying
yeah, I
300K,
see
and
exactly, man.
everyone was
Yeah.
saying, if you don't think we're going to 100K, like you're an idiot, like get the fuck out of here, all this stuff. Um, and I remember too, Trevon and Ivan on Tech were both kind of bearish leading up to that top call. They were both saying Ivan was like, guys, like dog coins are pumping, like let's be careful here. This is what happened around the top last cycle. And Trevon, he started saying to like 60K, like take your profits, y'all, take your profits. And I was like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? Like, we're just getting started. Like, I'm gonna have millions. I'm gonna make millions. And then so yeah, then it crashed and it was fucking terrible. And I was sitting there like sick to my stomach, like, holy shit, I didn't I didn't sell. I didn't sell, I was close to what I just like I was close to what I'd started with. Now, granted, I had been doing crypto full time and spending money on shit. So, I'd made money that I'd been spending on shit. But so I was like, fuck. And then Hex went to 2 cents and I was like, whoa, like, okay, great. Like it's good. Like I am like in the green, this is good. and then it just went to like fucking 5 cents like that, and I was like, oh shit, and because that was like pretty crazy. I remember
Man,
the first time
that
Hex wicked
euphoria.
the 2 cents. I had
Yeah.
one friend who got in on before Big Payday with me. I remember calling him when we wicked the 2 cents, and I was like, "Dude, we just wicked the 2 cents," and he was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah." And then, so yeah, when that started happening, I was like, "I will never doubt Richard Hart ever again. This is amazing." And then, because markets were down, and I was like super time locked with my Hex and shit. I took courses at Ivan on Tech's Academy, which is called Morales Academy, but it was Ivan on Tech Academy then. And his course is really like it's really really good. Like he explains Bitcoin from completely from like the beginning, like technical, everything like mempools and node, like explains all that stuff. So I was like, wow, I understand because I was curious. I loved crypto and
Yeah.
like I wanted to learn like actually like that stuff. And then once I learned all that, and I learned about Ethereum and the Ethereum virtual machine and how all that stuff works. Then when I would listen to Richard Hart, I realized how smart he actually is because I could understand a lot of the shit he was saying that before was going over my head. Like I understood, oh, Bitcoin inflation, the halving, oh, the miners earn the inflation and the fucking whatever the word is, the difficulty goes up, the more miners that enter and all this shit and the inflation rate. And I finally understood all of that. So then when I was listening to him talk and him explaining how Hex was like Bitcoin, but better, I was like, holy shit, like it is. Like, I was like, I get it now. So yeah, well, I was like, yeah, pretty sure at 5 cents, I went like all in on Hex. I took everything I had. I sold it at a loss or whatever it was down. Like I just went all in on Hex. Um, and then, yeah, I was like, all those other fucking guys were shitting on Richard Hart. They were saying Bitcoin to 100K. They're saying this and that about Hex. And then Hex went and did freaking crazy shit. And all these guys I was listening to were wrong. And here's the thing, none of them owned up to it. None of them said, hey, I was wrong. They said, guys, the market crashed. Can you believe it? It's like you were saying it wasn't. Like
Yeah.
they don't take accountability. And that's the
Yeah.
most disgusting thing.
Ah, you're so
They don't
fucking right.
say,
Yeah.
hey, I was wrong. I'm sorry. They act like it never happened. It's like, holy shit.
And they don't
This is
course
crazy.
correct, man. They don't correct their behavior moving forward. I mean, BitBoy is still shit. Like he's not shilling gambling. Like with stake.com, like these people just don't fucking learn. And he has a financial incentive not to learn. I mean, same thing with like Carl the Moon. Like if you look at the statistics of how many people click on the Bybit link and how many people are profitable, like 95% of people lose money. And he knows that. But he doesn't give a shit because he's driving a fucking Bugatti because of it. It's actually very profitable to not have a soul in this space. You can make a fuck ton of money if you just don't give a shit about your audience. So much money.
Yeah, and I hope like the honest people we're gonna win in the long term. I like listening to Naval Ravikant and his. I was just listening to it yesterday and the day before his How to Get Rich podcast, like 4 hours, and he talks about. I don't know if do you know what I'm talking about? Naval
It
Ravikant.
rings a bell. I'm sure if I like saw his face, I might recognize him.
But he talks about this whole podcast is about like ethical wealth creation, and he says if you are ethical, you always give people the better deal. You always try to make sure that you're a team player. You always do right by people. You're going to win in the long term. Whereas the guy who screws people over, he's going to win short term. He might there might be a deal where he can screw you over and take all the money. Yeah, he won, but now like his reputation is pretty shot, but the thing is, it's funny in crypto is like these guys can just do that and keep going. So I just hope, I hope there's some kind of, I don't know, reckoning where all these guys just get fucking wrecked. And I don't want to wish maybe they'll become honest, but maybe it'll be because they get some kind of fine or they actually get held accountable.
I don't think they will because they're financially incentivized not to. They're financially and they don't. If you're, I actually totally understand Bitboy Crypto's position. He has a family to take care of, man. Like if you were in his position, I believe he's like recovering addict. I don't bring that up to shit on him. I think it's great that he's recovered. Like my point is that for a guy like him, what does he have going for him? He's a really great host who's able to get a lot of views. And you're in that case, if you're getting a lot of views, you're highly, highly incentivized to monetize that and do so in ways sometimes that's probably not fucking best for your audience. And there's a massive financial incentive to do so. Like same thing with those Bible links, man. Like when I first started my channel, we had a Bible link, and I was like, "Fuck, if you guys are gonna trade, like we would say all the time, the risk, blah blah blah." And we're like, "If you're gonna trade, you might as well fucking use our link, support us." But it wasn't until like there was a massive liquidation event, and we like went to see like, okay, which one of these exchanges are like is where all these liquidations are happening. And we saw it was all Bybit. It's all where the retail traders were going. And we're like, oh, our audience is getting wrecked. And so like, and then we took it off. But a lot of these people don't fucking course correct, man. It's insane. I've made so many fucking mistakes, every mistake in the book, but I've tried my fucking darndest to course correct. When I make a mistake, acknowledge it and change my behavior moving forward. But unfortunately, with some of these larger guys, there's a financial incentive. And man, look, you'll see it too. Come this bull market, you keep doing your shit, you're gonna start seeing a lot of emails pop up. With a number attached to it, and that number is going to start to increase. And look, if it's something you think's legitimately cool, great. I've actually worked with two people in the past. It was Atani and
Light, FTX.
No, not FTX. I wish. But my point is, we've turned down fucking utter garbage constantly. But there's always that incentive not to. Which is
I already, dude, I had like 700 subs and I started getting like these emails like, oh, maybe some of them were scams, but they're like, oh, we'll pay you $500 or $1,000 to do like a 30-second shill of fucking Bit Casino, whatever the fuck it was called, some shit like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's crazy. It's a fucking crazy world out there. So given all this bullshit that we've gone through, where do you stand today? Meaning, are you like a RH ecosystem only? Do you invest in the holy trinity, HEX, PulseChain, PulseX, or do you dabble into projects building on PulseChain, or do you even go further? Like, do you dabble in Cardano, other DeFi things? like what's your philosophy today, like behind your investment approach?
Man, before PulseChain launched, it was. I'm staked out my ass pretty much. So HEX is very much just hope it does well long term because, at the current price, stuff that's coming out over the next few years isn't worth much. So I was like, I have really no profit taking plan for HEX. Just restake, stake long, get the T shares because I understand the deflationary aspect of the T shares, and then Pulse and PulseX is going to be like my plan is like take profit at certain points, use some of it because I want to start a family and all that kind of stuff. Use it for that. Also use it to buy in the bear market because that was a big thing. I'm realizing, man, if I had held more cash, like I would have, I learned from the first cycle. And then the other part can maybe go into buying more HEX, but the Pulse and PulseX. But now it's like, sudden mainnet syndrome. There's so much stuff to do. I mean, really, I'm HEX, Pulse, PulseX. I don't mess with anything outside of RH ecosystem.
Okay.
I just don't really care to because I remember that game where you're basically just. I don't know. You're swimming through a sea of shit, hoping to find the one thing that could maybe do okay or whatever. I don't know. Like there's all these coins out there, like the AI coins. What is it, Fetch or whatever? Like I hear about all these things from people, and I'm like, I don't like. But I do think like I only sacrifice for Pulse and PulseX. Dude, I thought it was crazy that people were running sacrifices. I was like, how? I was like, everyone's okay with this? Because I thought that was a Richard Hart. Like, Richard Hart's doing a sacrifice. He could do that because he's fucking Richard Hart, and we all trust his ass because, hypothetically, if he owned the OA has always been benevolent. And then you have these people coming out, hey, we're running a sacrifice for a thing. Who the hell are you? I was like, the fuck? And people were like, ooh, they're like, yeah. And then it just became a thing. And I was like, what the fuck? To me, it blew my freaking mind, but it was so normal. And it's normal now. And, whatever, not throwing shade on any project. I think, Liquid Loan seems really awesome.
Mm.
Power City. I'm excited to see Power City, Fiat, Famous, all those things. Mintra. I'm excited to see how that turns out. So I'm excited to see these things on PulseChain, and I actually have more belief in them now than when all that stuff was happening. I was like, oh, this is all bullshit, But now I'm like, oh, wait, no, these things are actually really cool and are gonna, I think, help PulseChain out a lot. So
Yeah. I think so, man, because like you want to not have that criticism of being called a ghost chain, right? Like if PulseChain was only for HEX, I think that would just like open the door to like another set of criticism. But we have an extremely interesting DeFi ecosystem, like you mentioned, liquid loans. Power City has their own version of liquid loans, except for PulseX with the Earn protocol, like NFT marketplaces. We have Fiat, like a fork of Aave. We have a Fame, like a fork of GMX, like a trading platform. So like we're starting to see some of these DeFi things that have had traction on Ethereum come over to PulseChain, and I think that makes the richer ecosystem net more attractive because it's like, oh, like there's actual stuff going on here. And I think it also speaks to the fact that there's tremendous interest. Like not only like one of the things I love about PulseChain is that PulseChain has the massive advantage of starting off with the HEX community. The HEX community, fucking fervent as fuck. They love it. They love Richard Hart. They're being onboarded onto PulseChain. So we already have this massive community. Now we have all these developers who are building out, legitimate things that are being legitimately used elsewhere coming on. So, I kind of view some of those things as net benefits. Although, again, it's kind of an open question as to, what will outperform, right? Like we at the end of the day don't really know. But so I guess kind of for you, if I, you correct me where I'm wrong here, but in an attempt to summarize your position, it seems like, while some of these things may be interesting for you, you see kind of the safer bet as kind of the core Richard ecosystem projects. Am I understanding correctly?
pretty much. I mean, I want to see, like I hear about the haunted strategy with liquid loans. I messed with Aave on Polygon. And from what I understand, liquid loans is like similar. And you can put up collateral and take out a loan and all that stuff. I don't know. I'm a simple guy. I don't know if I want to do all that.
Yeah, there's no need to overcomplicate your life, right? Like,
but but I am interested in some of these, like, whatever yield opportunities. I see, you can, if I can just stake something, I that sounds kind of cool. But we'll just have to see,
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I'm just like I said, I'm not going to doubt Richard Hart again. And when PulseChain Sacrifice came, I was like, this is like, this is my moment. It's like, this is the moment. And then PulseX, I was like, at first I was like, huh, this is weird. But then when we saw, it has this buy and burn feature, I was like, oh, well, this is pretty sick. So I don't know. And right now, I guess with HEX, it does the split buying pressure between the two chains. It does worry me a bit that maybe that could be kind of bearish. Like people won't know where to go, and then it's just confusing. And they're like, well, fuck this coin. Why would I buy it? Because people are saying buy it here, buy it there. Well, fuck that. I'm just going to go buy this other shit.
Right. Well, so what's your whole opinion on? Because there's been a lot of debate behind this, right? There's been a lot of strong feelings behind the EHEX PHEX situation, and I think there's two separate questions here we need to address. One question is, will EHEX survive, or ought it to survive? Like what I'm trying to say is, I think a lot of people, when I hear people discuss this, are confusing what they think will happen and what they think ought to happen, and I think those might be two slightly different things. But where do you fall on this whole discussion?
I've said very simply from the beginning, I waited 2 years for PulseChain. I don't want to fucking use Ethereum. I'm here for PulseChain, baby. Like, if I buy HEX, I'm not going on. I don't want to go do shit on Ethereum, man. Like, I don't want to. I don't want to use it. And if I onboard, like, the whole thing is like, no one wants to pay like a $15 ETH fee. Even that. Even like, you know, if you're going to onboard someone who has $50, you know, like getting them on Ethereum just isn't realistic at all. You know, so I think to me, I see both sides. I don't care. Like I have EHEX, I have PHEX. I do worry that this split opinion and whatever is going to confuse people and kind of hurt. If we just supported one, I think it would make sense that we'd have better price performance overall. Because when it's split like this, we might just lose some of that buy pressure. And
You're
yeah, they might
diluting
both
buy
go up,
pressure.
but we lose a lot of potential people because they're like, "What the hell is going on here? I thought there was a hex and yeah, I could buy it. Like why is there? What do you mean?" And it's like just my thinking is that just confuses people. They're like, "What the hell? Why? Like I'll just buy." I thought PulseChain was awesome. Why are you telling me to go buy Hex on another on? Why'd you even make fucking PulseChain in the first place if we're just going to go tell people to buy on Ethereum? What the hell?
Do you think Hex on Ethereum will survive?
Well, I mean, nothing can like go to zero. So, I mean, yeah, like, yeah, to some, like the logic, like the code is the same. A t-shirt is a t-shirt. It does make sense where like I kind of always thought before this all happened that PHEX would lead the charge and would be the number one supported. But if the fees were, there would be like, if the fees were lower than like if buying EHEX made sense where like the fee was low enough and the price was lower than PHEX enough that you were getting more hex anyway, then people would buy that. So like let's say like even if I pay a $50 fee and I have $100, the price is so much lower that I would get more EHEX and PHEX. Maybe like that would make sense then. But I don't know, like now hearing the arguments from both sides, I think the split buy pressure, I think that does make sense and that could be harmful. And when I think about it, like, yeah, like bro, like people, I don't know. From my experience, like I said, like I just think it confuses people, and they're like, "What the hell? Well, why'd you make PulseChain then?" So, but I don't think it's
Yeah.
gonna. I just don't think anything actually dies. And I mean, there's something to be said where, you know, I hear this analogy of like, oh, Ethereum's like a exclusive nightclub. Um, I don't, I don't know. It's so weird. The only thing I can do is keep it simple and just say like I waited so long for PulseChain and we have Hex on PulseChain and it's cheaper to stake. It's cheaper to stake. And then you'll never walk alone says buy eHex on Pulse. Well, you know, I don't really get that either. Why not just buy PHEX on Pulse?
Well, I guess the argument is that if it's at a discount and if they move in a correlated fashion, there might be opportunity. And like there's so many different arguments here, man. I guess the argument could be like PulseChain will be the retail chain, Ethereum will be the whale chain. Because like for example, like what about this? Like if there's so much staking behavior on PulseChain because it's so much easier, and you know if you're opening a 15-year long stake and you can get 10 t-shirts on PulseChain, but maybe you can get 12, maybe you can get 15 t-shirts on the Ethereum side of things, then maybe in a case like that, it might be worthwhile to exploit Hex on Ethereum. So because of the arbitrage opportunities, I always think like that's the thing that makes me think that EHEX will survive. Like I could see Hex on PulseChain outperforming and doing better and having a premium, but I think there's because of arbitrage, I think it will always be a case where like they move similarly, but where just maybe PulseChain, Hex on PulseChain outperforms kind of thing. But we'll see, man. Well, it's all an open question.
I mean, I'm kind of shocked that this is such like a big deal.
Well, because we're talking about people's bags, man, right? We're talking about people's value. Like, there's a lot of people who have a lot of money on their, on Hex on Ethereum, and like, because I'm trying to ask even myself, like, why is this so controversial to talk about? But it's like because they interpret it as like, oh, we're fighting their bags, we're fighting their value, right? Like, there's motherfuckers that have like $1 million.
So, like, I don't really get it,
Right, but like for them, it's like, okay, sure. Let's say you have $1 million in Hex. There's people who do, right? Like, okay, now I have $1 million on PulseChain, but hey, wouldn't it be nice if I also had that $1 million on Ethereum having a total of 2, and motherfuckers like us are, with all our questions, we're flooding their bags, or at least, that's what I'm saying. I could see like an emotional response kind of thing.
Yeah, well, it's funny too because I hear people saying, "Well, PulseChain's an unproven network, and Ethereum is a proven network, and so onboarding like big whales, and that kind of makes sense. Where they'd be like, "Well, this PulseChain thing's brand new. Why would I buy it on there when I could buy it on Ethereum that has this track record of working for 8 years or whatever the heck it's been?" And that kind of makes sense too, to me. So, but at the same time, it's like, well, why not? I thought we were so bullish on PulseChain and it's awesome and it's a fork of E2.0 and we trust Richard Hart. And now you're saying you can't convince someone to understand that PulseChain is just a better version of ETH. And now you're like, I don't really get it. Like, when I think of it like that, and couldn't I use other people's logic? I could use I say, you're fudding PulseChain. You're saying buy HEX on it. You're fudding PulseChain. You don't think PulseChain's good. If I was like an idiot, I could say something like that.
Yeah.
No one's like, people say, "Oh, you're fudding my bags." What the heck does that even mean? Like, people, like, to me, FUD is like baseless claims. Like, yeah, if someone's like, EHEX is going to die because whatever, like, yeah, maybe that's FUD. Or Richard Hart's a scammer. He's going to rug everything. That's FUD. But if you're saying, hey, look, I think, potentially the split buy pressure could be bad. People won't know what to do. It could confuse onboards. That's not FUD. It's just saying like, hey, like, like it's I think it's logical thinking, clear thinking. And I think people want what's best for, I think a lot of these people on both sides of the argument, they want what's best for everyone,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't think there's much malicious. I don't think anyone's maliciously, like, as far as I know, like, yeah, let's flood the price down so we can fill up our bags and let's fucking finesse everyone and scam them. I don't, but who knows, this is crypto. But I don't know, man. Like I said, I have both. I don't really care either way, but it does concern me that it could hurt HEX overall, with the split pressure. But
I think you're allowed to ask questions, man. Like, whenever the fundamentals change, you're allowed to say, "Hey, okay, the fundamentals have changed," which they have. The supply has doubled. We're on a new chain. It's not unreasonable to reassess. And I think we, as a community, need to draw a distinction between the people who are asking questions in good faith and the people who are spreading kind of unnecessary FUD. And I think there is a real difference. Look, we're running up against an hour here. We might wrap up. I want to wrap up soon. But there's one more thing kind of on my mind I did want to ask you about,
cool.
which is another thing that's kind of been a little bit of debate behind. I'm just curious to pick your brain on what your thoughts are, which is the whole kind of incentive token discussion, where this is something that I've gotten into recently, especially on Twitter. Kind of there is the argument that kind of incentive token is the black sheep of the Richard ecosystem, that it is, the worst option, I would argue. But then there's other people who argue very convincingly. I know Brazology does a good job of arguing the bullish case for incentive token, saying, do the limited the scarcity, whales holding it, that it could perform very well and even do performance comparably. I strongly disagree, but I want to get your opinion. What's your take on the whole incentive token debate?
I don't know, man. I don't really care too much about it because I have like only a couple incentive token.
Yeah.
As you heard my war stories of yield farming, so I took the tiny bit of liquid hex I had and split it into EHEX and PHEX on PulseChain, and then was doing the farming for that when there was incentive token for it. So I was like, yeah, now I got a little skin in the game. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do think it makes sense. Like, I'm looking at Brazology's comment on our interview from a few days ago, and he talks about, the OA owning the majority of Inc. and how, Bitcoin is just a dump coin for Bitcoin miners. And I've heard this argument too. That's interesting. It's an interesting point, is that the people getting all the supply of the incentive token at the beginning were the guys who were these whales of the ecosystem, because they were in PulseX, and they were providing most liquidity. And so they're guys that don't necessarily need to sell the incentive token, and now they can farm it in another farm. So honestly, that all kinds of makes sense to me. So and also the fact that it's kind of like the token that's least spoken about, and it's kind of like, oh, so you know, it makes sense that it could be the you know, could do well. But again, I haven't been doing the farming because, like I said, I'm a simple guy, and
Sure.
the impermanent loss. I just don't want to have to worry about it, deal with it. I get like how it could work. I think Access Alive and Sloth have a liquidity course, which I honestly have thought about taking, just because I kind of understand a lot of this stuff, like but I don't know. I'm always down to like learn more.
Yeah. And that's actually another interesting point as well. I've actually taken a bunch of courses on tons of different topics, like on solidity, on technical analysis, and
Mm.
I actually think that if you can afford it, um, you know, there's always a wide degree of quality, in these courses. You never truly know what you're getting, but if you can invest in your own education, I've found that the courses I've taken have personally been very helpful for myself. So that's just kind of a something to keep in mind for the people watching. I
Sure.
see funding Jim has a question here. Do you think that there will be a PRT, or will incentive token take its place? Oh, okay. So are you familiar with the PRT from back in testnet?
Kind of. I don't really understand, like you say, I don't really understand why we need a PRT token. Like, why not just have incentive token take its place? So,
Well, okay. So my understanding, you jump in here if I'm missing something, or if you have another point of view, is that PRT was simply a placeholder for other tokens that will come and launch on PulseChain, and that like almost like it's a marketing effort where they give out their token for free for like to PulseX stakers, in
oh,
order to
huh,
get marketing, and then like PRT, which is like a placeholder, like a representative, like
okay,
PancakeSwap, for example, where PancakeSwap has the cake pools where you could stake pool and you could earn like syrup, some random coin that's launching on
right.
Binance Smart Chain, and like for marketing, they give out a portion of their supply, uh, that kind of thing. So, I'm personally waiting for that to happen with PulseX. Um, I do think that will happen, Bunning Jim, because I think PRT was supposed to be just a placeholder. Um, I don't know what your view is on that.
Well, something I just thought of too, looking at Funding Jim's comment, is like also like if these largest LP guys who own all this ink and they don't need to sell it, what also looks bullish for the ecosystem as a whole is if this incentive token is performing really well too. So it's like more incentive for these large whales not to sell. Because then it's like, look, these guys in this yield farm, they're earning this token that's only going up. It's going up over time. Like, that's good. And then these whales, that's bullish for them because then the ink token potentially goes up more because more people come in. They say, wow, you can farm and earn a token that's not like down forever coin. Um, and then yeah, you use the ink to buy lower on the side you're providing LP on, and then if the liquidity is somewhat bonded, that it doesn't necessarily hurt ink too
Yeah.
bad. I don't think so. Yeah, yeah, I think the bullishness on incentive token makes sense to me.
Look, I think Ink's actually a great thing for the ecosystem because it's essentially, it's creating buy pressure for the other rich drop projects. And look, to be fair to the Ink holders, there is reason to think that due to some of the tokenomics of scarcity, it could do well. Due to the people holding it being whales, it could do well. Due to the correlation, it could do well. The incentive token being correlated, will definitely benefit from PulseChain's success. All that kind of stuff. My concern at the end of the day is that in order to mitigate the risk of impermanent loss, especially currently, the only way to do so is to sell incentive token. That's my concern. And if we look at kind of the behavior of whales on HEX, whales sell, guys. Like we've seen whales sell HEX at unreasonable places. We've seen Rackham. He just sold a couple $1 million worth of PulseChain. So my point is, whales do sell. And then moving forward, I'm asking myself, okay, what's likely to be the first thing that whales sell? In my opinion, there's a likely case that it's going to be incentive token. And so that's my concern at the end of the day, ultimately, there's this, it's we don't know for sure. We'll see. But in my opinion, I would prefer PulseChain, PulseX HEX before incentive token. But we'll see. It's early days.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Exciting stuff. Do you have any kind of final words before, as we start to wrap up here? Do you want to plug your channel, all that good stuff?
Yeah, I was just had a thought about the impermanent loss. Like,
Oh, please. Yeah.
if you're a big enough whale, do you even care about impermanent loss really? Because you're just earning so much, and you could just I mean, you could just hold through the whole bull run, and then if it comes back down to where we're at, maybe that's a gamble, but or even close, you didn't suffer any impermanent loss. You made a crap ton of incentive token and fees the whole time. But yeah, my channel, Ben DuBard. I have some helpful security videos. So if you're, like I mentioned earlier, my friend who got hacked didn't have a hardware wallet. He, as far as he knows, he did everything correct. He wrote his seed phrase down, but MetaMask stores your seed phrase in the browser. So your seed phrase is stored digitally in MetaMask, even though MetaMask tells you never, take a picture of your seed phrase or anything, yet they have it in your browser stored there. So I have a video. If you have like a lot of long-term hex stakes on a plain MetaMask seed phrase, you can migrate that seed phrase to a hardware wallet, and it's kind of confusing, but I have a video on how to do it. Otherwise, if you just have liquid coins, I would just get a hardware wallet, set it up brand new, get a Trezor, set it up brand new, 24-word seed phrase, add a passphrase, which is like a 25th seed word that is custom, you created, and then move all your funds to it. If that's confusing, I have the videos on my channel, and you can try to DM me. I did recently start a Patreon, so I have a Telegram group there, and we're going to do a private meeting once a week with all the Telegram members and in the chat. And so, I'm getting a ton of DMs lately, and it's hard to keep up. I used to answer every YouTube comment, every DM, but now it's getting hard to keep up. And I got life stuff going on too, where I'm busy. And so, my Telegram Patreon members are who I kind of like help out first. And then me and Randy Hilarski, we are doing A to Z crypto course. The deadline to sign up is the 12th. And yeah, this course, every time I go and look at this, it's 700 slides. And then in addition to the slides that we go through, it's going to be kind of like Q&A with me and Randy. Randy's been in the crypto space like way longer than I have. But I'm pretty good at explaining things simply. And I've built this course like structured. It's really good. Every time I go look at it, I'm like, wow, this is going to be so awesome. So yeah, you can check that out at bendubard.com. And I also do one-on-ones to help people. Mainly what I've been doing recently is helping people actually transfer their MetaMask seed phrase to a hardware wallet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have a video on it that has a lot of good comments, but sometimes people want like the assurance of someone there kind of like holding their hand. Yeah. So I've been doing that kind of stuff for over a year now, like the one-on-ones, holding people's hand while they send crypto or do whatever. Because I'm pretty patient and I'm pretty chill, and I'll, yeah. So
yeah, no, it's when people are dealing with money like that. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but no, man, I was gonna say, like, especially for a lot of people, there's a lot of people I find too get especially nervous when dealing with seed phrases, when dealing with their crypto, because it's their investment money, and so it's a very sensitive topic, and so for you to kind of help people out among other education, I think is super, super cool. Man, look, I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate you. Everyone, check out Ben's YouTube channel. I left a link down in the comments below. Go give this man a like and a sub. He's producing some great content, some great education. So hope you guys all go and support him. Show him some love. Let us know your preferred pronouns down in the comments below. Shout out to Funding Jim. Shout out to everyone else who's asking great questions in the chat. And yeah, man, if you got any, I don't know if you have any final words. I know you kind of just summed it up a good bit there. If not, we can wrap things up. If you have anything in mind.
Final message would be to take the security seriously, especially now. Things are kind of down or whatever. Nothing crazy exciting. The this is a good time to do it. Not in the euphoria of if your bags are pumping and you're like freaking out. You're like, I should have done my security earlier, you know. And I know it sucks and you're like dragging your feet on it because I've been there and I have friends who are like that now. And I'm like, dude, get your shit together. And they're like, oh, I will. You know, some people, they buy a hardware wallet and they let it sit there for a year. So, you know, just open that bad boy. There's tons of videos on YouTube, not just on my channel, everywhere. You don't even need the YouTube videos, really. It's not that hard. It's a new thing. So, yeah, it's like kind of intimidating. And yeah, it's your freaking crypto and it's scary. But I think you might feel a lot better. You know, I personally, getting my security set up, it's a really good feeling to be like, okay, good. Like, and you take it more serious and you feel good about it. So
Yeah.
I would just take that serious, get on it. Because that you don't want to lose your PulseX. Not right now. You might be looking at it and you're like, man, this isn't really worth a ton. Well, you never know, man. So
yeah, guys, it's very early days. We're I'm pretty much probably near the goddamn bottom of the bear. Take your security seriously, and if you can afford it, if you can swing for it, I'd even recommend. I know Ledger. I'm not sure if Trezor does. They sell those metal stainless steel things where you can track your seed phrase. That's probably better than than just paper, but paper is fine. If you can afford it, I'd recommend it.
you
Yeah,
can get
take your security seriously.
fireproof, waterproof bag thing on Amazon too. Those aren't that expensive.
Okay.
$10. Trezor is $69. You know, it's not terrible. You know,
It's an insurance policy, man. Like no one wants
much.
insurance, but if you ever need it, on the off chance, on that 1 in 100 chance that you need it, you're gonna be very thankful that you took the time and the effort to do it. So, yes, that's super important stuff. Okay, dude, this was a great conversation. I'm gonna wrap it up here, folks. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Like and subscribe. Until next time, take care.